Jeffrey Epstein, financier, socialite, and convicted sex offender, moved through the corridors of power like a ghost in a gilded world. He had no public biography worthy of billionaire status, yet somehow amassed immense wealth, extraordinary influence, and had access to the most powerful people in the whole goddamn world. From Bill Gates to presidents of even other countries and even more powerful people. He knew them all. He had mansions, he had private jets, he had private islands, he had friends in high places, and beneath it all was a trail of victims, lawsuits, and decades of ignored warnings. This is the story of how one man built a global network and how the world failed to hold him accountable. Welcome to the channel, welcome to the Guccinos reviews, welcome. Hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget your boy, like this video and subscribe. And on that note, let's go. And first, let's start with the origins. From Brooklyn to Wall Street. Jeffrey Edward Epstein was born on January 20, 1953 in Brooklyn, New York. He was raised in a very modest circumstances. His father worked for New York City Parks and his mother was a school aide. Epstein was a math prodigy and he graduated his high school early. He began college at Cooper Union and later studied mathematics and physics at NYU's Current Institute, but left without a degree. His first notable job was that he was teaching calculus and physics at the elite Dalton School in Manhattan, and no one knows exactly how he did it. He basically had no degree and he ended up teaching people calculus and physics in school, and he was only 21. And while there, Epstein impressed parents and students alike. One father also later introduced him to a senior partner at the investment bank called Bear Stearns, and within months, Epstein had left teaching for Wall Street. And then when he got to Bear Stearns, that was the creation of his first network. And that's where he also started as a junior assistant to a floor trader. He worked under executives like Alan Greenberg, who later described hiring people with a deep desire to become rich. Although Epstein had falsely claimed university degrees, he quickly rose, becoming an option trader, and by the age of 27, a limited partner. One colleague also called him a hell of a salesman, like he was the guy to do it all and all of that. Like you could leave everything to him, but we all saw how it went, huh? Epstein began advising wealthy clients on tax strategies and complex trading. He also flew frequently to Palm Beach, where he was beginning to cultivate a social life that would intersect disastrously with his future abuse cases. His success at Bear Stearns was not without controversy. He charged personal expenses to the firm. He maintained relationships with colleagues, assistants, and he also lived a lifestyle seemingly unmoored from any known client portfolio. And in 1981, an investigation into brokerage rules violations led to his suspension and eventual resignation. But the contacts he made and the reputation he built would fuel his next chapter. And that's where we get to the next chapter, where he is building his wealth and all of his access around the world. And Epstein quickly found out his own financial consulting firm. He claimed it managed the assets of clients worth more than $1 billion. And a claim met with skepticism because the client roster remained largely undisclosed. And his most significant client was Leslie Wexner, the CEO of the Limited and Victoria's Secret. Wexner gave Epstein power of attorney over his financial affairs, including buying and selling property, signing checks, and managing large projects like Wexner's yachts. Epstein's influence through Wexner gave him access to elite social circles, travel on corporate and private aircrafts, and then invitations to philanthropic events and business summits. And during this period, he also formed partnerships and investments, and he also consulted on corporate recovery efforts and claimed to locate lost funds to international clients. And I'm telling you, Les Wexner is not to be trusted. From everything that we know right now about Jeffrey Epstein and all of that, I am telling you, Wexner knew everything. And the fact that he's coming out saying, yeah, I didn't know, I'm sorry, I've never seen anything. He's a goddamn liar, just like all the rest of them. And I'm telling you, Les Wexner is probably the devil himself next to Jeffrey Epstein. Because I'm sorry, I'm gonna tell you one thing. He is literally the owner of Victoria's Secret, the brand that makes all the freaking lingerie for women and all of that. So what can you expect from a guy like that at the end of the day? I'm sorry. And this was the era when Epstein actually became, in many eyes, a financial insider. And though his real business model was always opaque, like we kind of didn't know how he made his money. And since you don't know, I guess that something in the shadiness is going on. And since we know that a little bit of the shadiness that was happening with the victims, I am telling you, Lex Wexner did it and all of the rest of them. Then now let's talk about the properties of power, because Epstein real estate portfolio reads like a world tour of privilege. Let's talk about Little St. Jane in the US Virgin Islands. And this is a private island, isolated and heavily secured. And it became the centerpiece of numerous abuse allegations. And from popular people to celebrities to powerful people in government and in power, we've seen it all. We've seen couple names going around and around and around and around, from Bill Gates to Bill Clinton to other people all around the world. Literally, we've heard it all. To even one of my latest videos where I was even talking about the Norwegian princess that even was there, you know. Then moving on to the Manhattan townhouse. And this one is the largest private homes in New York City, with a sophisticated security and hidden rooms. And the victims would later describe areas of this home where they were allegedly abused. And that's also the home. And to tell me that literally the biggest out of them all had literally the biggest house of New York City. First of all, I'm like, how did he get it? How did he get the money? And when you check the history of the guy, you go like, how did he actually do it? Because no one understands, you know? And the fact that we've had so many victims coming out and saying what they said, and then checking out pictures of even one of the Prince of Britain that got caught, you know, with Jeffrey Epstein and all of that, you go like, there is actually literally a freaking secret world where the absolute powerful are actually doing whatever the hell they want to do. And I'm sorry, that's not right, because if everybody can get caught on something, why don't they? And then it comes to the Palm Beach mansion also, the location of the first major law enforcement investigation in 2005. And this also was at the central of dozens of victim reports and everything. And also because, you know, neighbors actually started saying, oh yeah, there's something going on. And not just that, but even some of the parents of the victims saw that there was something going on and saw that the kids would have more money than normally have and all of that, like $200-$400 extra and all of that. And they were like, well, hold on, what's going on? And when the kids started talking to the parents, that's when the parents called the cops, and that's when the cops went over to the house. And then I just learned about this one. This one is called the Zorro Ranch, and it's in New Mexico. And it's a sprawling property that became the subject of civil lawsuits and rumors before Epstein's arrest. And in this one, they are even talking about some very dark stuff. For example, the fact that they might find some bodies in the property. They were probably doing some tests on some people to get like a perfect DNA or something that they can create or something. There was truly some evil stuff going on at that Zorro Ranch. And the fact that literally we always find Jeffrey Epstein at the end of the day, at the end of everything, where you question what's really going on in a very bad way. You go like, what the hell was that guy the devil? What is it? And then we do not forget about his apartment in Paris. He had also an overseas base in one of Europe's most exclusive districts. And the fact is, the same stuff used to happen also over in Paris. So the fact is, literally the guy had basically everywhere around the world, and he could travel around the world and do whatever the hell he wanted to do around the world, with so many people and so many victims coming from all over the world. And all of this could have been, investigated from the get-go, because we had early warnings and first investigations. And as early as in the mid 1990s, law enforcement saw warnings. In 1996, artist Maria Former reported to the FBI that Epstein had assaulted her and threatened her sister, and that nude photos had been taken without consent. Yeah, and basically Maria was working with Maxwell and Epstein, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna get you to do this, we're gonna get you in a program or whatever. And like slowly but surely, they started on getting more sexual and all of that with, Maria and all of that, which is absolutely ridiculous because she was a teenager at the moment. And not just that, but literally after all of that, they started on threatening her, because apparently they were also doing the same thing to her little sister. And so that's when they literally went to the FBI and told them what they literally experienced in 1996 already. And then in 2001, students reported suspicious recruitment at Palm Beach Atlantic University. But serious investigative follow-through did not occur until 2005. So literally 9 years after the first, victims come out and say something happened, that's when you actually start the investigation. I mean, that was kind of late, but let's go. So in 2005, when Palm Beach police began to investigate after a mother reported that her 14-year-old stepdaughter had been paid to strip and massage Epstein, police identified at least 36 girls aged 14 to 17 with similar stories, and it's always the same thing. And I don't know if you actually guys watched the documentary on Netflix about this whole story as well, but in that documentary, the number goes all the way up to like 200, 300, and even probably a lot more. With the power and the money those people had, I am telling you, the number was a lot more. And now we are in the 2008 plea deal. This investigation led a controversial plea agreement in 2008. Epstein pleaded guilty to procuring a minor to prostitution and soliciting a prostitute, and he was sentenced to 13 months in county jail with work release privileges, a light sentence for the scope of the allegations that were going on. And that was absolutely ridiculous, the fact that you had all of these victims coming out and you had all of this evidence and everything, and at the end he gets like a slap on the hand. Is somebody protecting him, or is somebody else? Like, is he working for somebody else, or I don't know. But he also got registered as a sex offender, and he also escaped federal charges, and immunity was extended to named and unnamed co-conspirators. Many prosecutors and law enforcement officials later described this deal as a failure of justice system. It was called the deal of a lifetime. And then for the return to power, after his conviction, Epstein maintained all of his properties, all of his financial operations, all of his high-profile contacts, everything. It's like nothing happened. He continued to travel, network, and position himself as a wealthy, connected financier all around the world. And everybody was like, oh yes, Epstein, we can give him our money. During this period, Epstein also pursued international partnerships, engaged with technology and surveillance ventures, and maintained ties with elite figures in politics, business, and academia. And for example, he knew all them goddamn nerds in Harvard, in all of the biggest schools you can think of, and he literally was inviting them, and he would go to see them. He would make them a donation to kind of look like, I am a scientific too, and I make generous donations to the scientific world and all of that. But then behind the scenes, he would start talking about DNA and how you can change the DNA and how you can make the perfect human being and stuff like that. That guy was evil. And the fun fact is, even when Bill Clinton, even when you get to the Microsoft guy, For example, he was saying, oh yeah, no, I've never done anything, I just knew him from far or whatever. But even after he got convicted or whatever, and he was still hanging out with him, and his wife even divorced him and became the biggest billionaire in the world because of that. I am telling you, there's some secrets that we don't know yet about. And then he comes out saying, yes, it's because I cheated on her. Oh yeah, I was with some Russian girls, whatever. Bill Gates, come on now. Come on now. And then when it comes to all of the geopolitical connections, let's go. Between 2012 and 2019, Epstein worked with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak on security projects in Ivory Coast, on technology and surveillance initiatives in Mongolia. And he also coordinated meetings at the UN, connected governments, and facilitated introductions. These activities expanded his sphere beyond just finance and social circles into geopolitical. And then in 2018, the new investigation. The Miami Herald published a landmark investigation that exposed hundreds and hundreds of victims' statements, the leniency of the 2008 plea deal, and the systemic failures in prosecution. The reporting propelled renewed federal action, and in July 2019, Epstein was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges involving minors. He pleaded not guilty and was denied bail. And then when it comes to the arrest and the seizure of evidence, law enforcement executed multiple raids on Epstein's residences in New York, Palm Beach, and the US Virgin Islands. And they seized discs, hard drives labeled with names, thousands of photographies, some material that appeared to depict minors even. And in a subsequent FBI review, investigators confirmed that some child sexual abuse material had been downloaded from the internet. But none of the seized files were proven to depict abuse committed by Epstein or others. And the victims, a lot of them testified. We've got one of the biggest one of them, Virginia Giuffre, and she is one of the highest profile victims to speak publicly. She described how she was being recruited as a teenager, how she was moved between properties, and how her psychological coercion and exploitation. Giuffre also alleged that Epstein lent out girls to others. Large-scale federal investigation reviews concluded that there was no corroborated evidence that Epstein directed victims to other powerful men. And then you also have other victims that are also saying the same thing. And across the score of testimonies, common patterns emerge: grooming and manipulation, encouragement to recruit other girls, payment tied to increased abuse, and they all claim the use of private jets and secluded properties. And these testimonies were consistent enough that investigators described Epstein's operation as more than isolated incidents. Epstein faced more than a dozen civil lawsuits while alive, and after his death, dozens more were filed against his estate. Some claims included allegations of international trafficking, accusations of abuse involving young girls flown between locations, and accounts of financial control and coercion. His estate established a victims' compensation fund even, which contributed tens of millions to survivors. And then the Maxwell trial. We all know about Maxwell. After Epstein's death, his longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested in July 2020, and she tried and convicted on December 2021 on multiple counts related to sex trafficking minors. Prosecutors argued Maxwell acted as a recruiter and facilitator, groomed young girls for Epstein's abuse. She was literally sentenced to 20 years in prison. And then the Epstein files, the thing that's literally on the mind of everybody currently. In November 2025, both chambers of the US Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act, signed into law by President Donald Trump. The legislation ordered the release of government files related to Epstein investigations, and on December 19, deadline, large volumes of documents were published with additional releases following. And these documents contain flight logs, emails, financial records, reveal Epstein's extensive global contacts, and it completely shows the scale of legal actions and investigative material. However, many documents were heavily redacted. Some names remain obscured, and the debate continues over the transparency. And it feels like even with the Epstein files out and everything, we still have no following. Like, we just have a few names here and there with everything that got redacted and all of that. So we're like, so what's gonna happen? Should we just move on from everything, or hey, whoa? And it feels like all you got is connections and not convictions. Thousands of names appear in Epstein-related documents, from politicians to CEOs, academics to entertainers. Literally everybody feels like it is on the Epstein files. Everybody who sent a mail, something related to the Epstein, is gonna be there. And many were contacted socially, listed on flight manifest, and seen also at multiple events. We've seen Michael Jackson, we've seen Chris Tucker on his plane with Bill Gates, we've seen even Bill Gates swim with Maxwell and Epstein in, their swimming pool on the island, and all, like, craziness. And what's important here, inclusion in such material does not equate to involvement in any crime. Investigators have emphasized this distinction repeatedly. And yes, it does not say that when you are in the files, you are not committing something, but some of them, where when you start actually looking at some of the mails and all of that left and right, you go like, hey, there's some keywords here. Like, there's a code in between all of these mails. Like, not all, but some of them. For example, one of the keywords would be pizza. Why would, the super rich and the super, would be talking about pizza so much? They'd be like, yeah, can you bring 2 pizzas with you when you're coming? Or yeah, another word for it would be like beef jerky. They would be like, yeah, no, I had so much fun with the 2 beef jerky from the other day. What the hell are you guys talking about in these emails, That's why I am telling you, throughout couple keywords, we can actually see what they were actually doing, Hey, just like in the drug world, when you don't want to get caught, so instead of talking with your dealer, oh yeah, can you give me this? Can you give me that? You be like, hey, can you give me 2 breads and a Fanta? And everything is understood, but for the outsider, you go like, what the hell is going on? And then comes August 10th, 2019. Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York while awaiting trial. The official determination? Suicide by hanging. An Inspector General's report later criticized the jail protocols, failure to follow monitoring procedures, and falsified guard logs. Even from the footage that we got, everything appears shady. That's all I'm gonna say. Multiple conspiracy theories emerged, none of which are supported by the official investigation. And so in the aftermath of Epstein's death, several narratives took hold. Theory number 1, Epstein was murdered to protect powerful figures. And this does not have no credible evidence that supports it until now. Theory number 2, Epstein was part of an intelligence operation, and some commentators have speculated on this, but no official evidence has been confirmed yet. Like, nothing's been confirmed, just theories. Theory number 3, there exists a hidden list of clients or abusers, and documents contain many mentions of powerful people and social contacts, but investigators state there is no verified list of co-conspirators or proof of widespread abuse by others. These theories reflect public distrust of institutions but remain speculative completely. Jeffrey Epstein's story is now part of the legal reform debates, discussions on elite immunity, also on victims' rights movements and institutional accountability at the same time. And his case revealed law enforcement shortcomings, prosecutorial decision failures, and the impact of wealth and influence on justice. Jeffrey Epstein expected secrecy. He expected silence. but his victims spoke. Investigators pressed, and millions of pages of documents now tell a story that no amount of wealth could have fully hide. And in the end, the world did not actually know everything. We literally just know probably just the tip of the iceberg, but it knows far more than we once did, you know? And so hopefully that in the future we will get more information, we will get more people that will come out and speak more. And even lately, some of the victims were like, you know what, since we already know the people who did it, who did that stuff to us, they were like, yeah, we're gonna actually make a whole list of people that abused them basically, and hopefully they will release it soon, and hopefully we get the names that we actually need. And on that note, if you guys like this video, don't forget to comment below. What do you think about this whole case? Because this whole case is literally gone viral, crazy internationally, where even in the international world, like you've got CEOs around the world literally resigning because they just appeared in the files. All I'm saying is, since they saw their names in there, they were like, I need to run. That's all I gotta say. On that note, don't forget to comment down below, like this video. Let me know if you want me to make a part 2 about this, because this is one of the longest stories we're gonna be talking about for years. And don't forget to share it to as many people as you know. That way you also support your boy. And on that note, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.